morning, MouseHunt. Welcome. Feedback Friday today. May 27th, 2016. I am sort of here in one of the back rooms at the office. The boardroom was in use. So I am sitting in the always uncomfortable beanbag chair. Probably one of the worst sitting vessels I've experienced, but here I am nonetheless. How's everybody doing? Hello, hello. Hello to you two in the chat room. Oh yeah, there's a whiteboard back there. Somebody spotted Pac-Man running around. Well, today I am a little tired actually, full disclaimer. We were up a little late. If you were playing last night, you may have noticed we had a little interruption. Our host provider had a network event, as they called it. I think one of their switches were having problems and we lost connection to all of our servers, and so that was required a little bit of patience, and it was kind of a bad feeling because we couldn't even do anything really, just sit around and wait because we couldn't even connect to any of the game servers. So we worked through that. Thanks for everyone's patience. I will say, posted on the Facebook page last night to say, okay, let hunters know what's going on. Hey, the game's down, and there's a lot of positive comments on that wall post, which really I think spoke volumes to the MouseHunt community. Everyone's just positive. Lack of frustration was much appreciated because it's both stressful. I think I even said there it's stressful for both hunters and us developers. So seeing everyone's words of patience and support sort of helped us get through a little bit of a stressful night. That said, I was up till about 3 in the morning, kind of waiting for everything to come back online, so I'm a little fatigued today. Had to go with the extra large coffee this morning, and I'm slowly working through to try to get through the day here. Glitch pause, as people are commenting in the chat there. Didn't quite want to hit the button last night at 3 in the morning. It had been a while since we released them, so we'll search through for maybe a few glitch pause today. See what we can do. We get equally nervous doing something on a Friday, but we're going to go and check that out probably once I wrap things up here. So we're going to go see if we can find those glitch pause hanging around these servers. It was a good thing actually I typed up my notes yesterday because I didn't have time this morning, came in a little bit late, but we have quick behind the scenes. We're going to kind of go over what we've been planning on working on in the world of MouseHunt in the immediate future. We're a little bit in between things, so we kind of met to plan some stuff out recently. A couple feedback questions for hunters in the chat, actually 3 feedback questions for hunters in the chat, and then finally finishing off as we always do with a trivia question, and Larry will have rewards. So behind the scenes here, what we've been working on, as I said, we kind of just finished up the Froma Rift, which hunters seem to be enjoying, and that kind of left us at a spot where that was sort of the last thing that we had really worked on, our last sort of concrete plan. So we all got together and we planned out sort of our roadmap for spring and summer. We sort of brainstormed, we went through the idea bank, the ideas and suggestions kind of forum, we log things over time. We went through all the various ideas to see what we maybe wanted to work on, narrow down the list. And the next big project we're planning to start is a law expansion. You'll see a new area or new expansion into Varmint Valley and beyond, which will eventually lead to even more law regions, sort of in a whole other region of law in future releases, and kind of flesh things out a lot more, make it a lot less sort of just this little side quest where you go there to capture the mice, but there's no real tangible big rewards. There's not that huge big mouse to sort of capture, and a lot of points and gold, and sort of progress through the ranks as you work your way through a storyline, or even like other areas of the game, you'll do an area and it'll lead to a different storyline that maybe involves different power types. And I think that's maybe why Law feels a little bit off to the side as a side quest, because it doesn't lead to something else. Like, you go on the ship and you use hydro traps, and that you discover the tribal isles, where then you use hydro, physical, tactical, shadow, and draconic. So sort of similar feel, where the law story will be a little bit more grand and eventually lead into something else. I'm pretty excited actually to work on law, because I think it'll be the first time I worked on a law area. I was working on the mobile app primarily, I think, when Clawshot City and the Nanian Express train came out, so I wasn't too involved in playing around with that theme and things like that. So on a personal level, I'm kind of excited to to try out working on a law area for the first time. While we're working on this big law release as well, we also wanted to prototype a potential overhaul for the toxic spill. So this has been a bit of a thorn in our side. We haven't been, maybe that's not quite the right term, but we haven't been entirely happy with how that area turned out. We've certainly gotten lots of feedback from hunters over the years, I guess. It's been 2 years, I think it came out. So we wanted to experiment with changing around the mechanics a little bit, turning it into a more of a permanent area, sort of repurposing a little bit. Where one day the toxic spill just overflows so much it proves too massive for the mainland support. It detaches, floats off into the ocean, and we're sort of working the area we gave the working title of Garbage Island. And it's where all of the discarded empty chests, basket, boxes, everything else ends up in the kingdom, floating out there in the sea, and repurpose it a little bit. So we're still playing around with that a little bit. We're prototyping it. But I think we kind of want to take it in a direction where it's more of a permanent area, like some of the other areas in the game, and I think that'll give it a better feel. Yeah, there we go. Another Dave in the chat was laughing at Garbage Island. I think we just like saying Garbage Island. In our meeting, we definitely said Garbage Island a few times. Well, we didn't say Garbage Island. We said Garbage Island. It was that voice. And finally, we're also planning out a small Summer Olympics event. That's sort of on our radar, as well as Season 4 of the Relic Hunter. So those are kind of two smaller little things. And that's a bit of a heads up too if you haven't collected the limited edition Warden Slayer trap, which, unless I'm terribly mistaken, I think that's this season's current limited edition reward from treasure chests. You may want to start working on a few more maps because that is on our radar to start the next season of the Relic Hunter. And that is sort of what we planned out. Now it's a little early. It's I don't want to go into too many concrete details because we just sort of planned things out a little bit. We're starting to prototype, get the ball rolling a little bit, and I think in future Feedback Fridays we can kind of have a more concrete explanation or preview of maybe what's to come. But we're right sort of at the start. So grain of salt, total disclaimer, plans often change, but that's the plan for the moment anyway. Question in the chat, when will Season 4 start? Not quite sure yet. Like I said too, we're just sort of we're just getting the ball rolling. We're sort of preparing a lot of little documents and things like that to kind of plan out what we're going to do and communicate it with everyone. So we haven't quite made a concrete plan yet. There's a question in the chat about the Relic Hunter theme scraps. Those are not limited edition. You can find them any season. The only thing that goes away at the end of the season is the limited edition trap. So that's just the Warden Slayer. Everything else you can continue to get. But you do need to do regular treasure maps that you obtain from the Relic Hunter. So the easy, medium, hard, arduous. Easy, medium, hard, elaborate, and arduous. Missed one there. Will we see the Winter Games Mouse again? Yeah, we'll see. Again, we're kind of planning everything out. I do know, I think we just want to do something a little bit smaller for the Olympics so we can concentrate on working on other big permanent areas and expansions to the game, but we definitely want to make the mice available as well. So we had a few ideas, but it's maybe a little bit too early to preview any of that. We want to kind of flesh it out, play test a few things ourselves, and see if we like it before we bring it out. Yeah, some suggestions in the chat room there about the train. They've been a little bit awkward. We considered as well maybe revisiting them and kind of repurposing them a little bit before the law expansion, but I think ultimately we decided to maybe just leave them as is and focus on what comes next in the law storyline. Uh-oh, lag. Well, one person's lagging. I am a little worried. It seems like the stream's holding up okay here from my end, but this room is a little bit of a Wi-Fi dead zone. I don't know who used to be in this building. We're in a really old building here in downtown Toronto, and I believe what is now our kitchen used to be a safe, so the walls are made of iron, which is really good for the Wi-Fi reception. It's awesome. Question there about teams without trains. We don't have any, like I said, we don't have any plans to revisit the trains. That's the majority of the rewards you get from doing the trains are, like the community bonuses are kind of bonuses to the smaller end of the reward. And I do know the guys put that together to keep in mind that not every, the whole community might not be out that area at once. But there was definitely, some learning things, a few awkward things around the train. So we got a lot of great feedback, and that helps us in future areas that we work on. Rex in the chat says, I look comfy. Well, quite the opposite. I don't know. How do you in the chat, how do you feel about beanbag chairs? Because we have a ton of beanbag chairs here that get very little use, and I'm positive it's because they're very uncomfortable. I'm not particularly comfortable. My knees are right here. Oh, almost spilled my coffee. And really, when you're working with laptops as well, this just isn't the right vessel to have a computer in your lap. So, well, other people in the chat are loving beanbag chairs. I might argue that you have not given beanbag chairs enough sitting time. You got to log some more hours in one of these things. Because at first you're like, this is kind of nice. But eventually it's not so nice anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too concerned with practical reasons. Beanbags give no back support when you're sitting up. Gotta lean way back, Karen in the chat says. I can definitely feel not very much back support. And not to complain, I got a bit of a bad back, so maybe that factors into things here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, not much lumbar support. I would agree in the chat there. There's not much lumbar support going on for me here. A question in the chat, what ranks will the law expansion be for? Well, right now they are the current law areas, the train and Environment Valley are Lord Lady, so the next area in the storyline would likely be Count, because that's what comes next, unless I'm horribly mistaken, or is it Baron? Uh-oh, let me go. I'm sleep deprived here. My MouseHunt trivia and knowledge of the feudal system is also being challenged. And I'm sure before I can even load this up to fact check here. So Baron, Baroness. Count comes after Baron. So the next, I think we're playing in one area that will be Baron. And that area, again, this full disclaimer, we're just kind of playing around with stuff. So plans may definitely change. But we're kind of planning out one area or one storyline adventure, something of that nature that's Baron to unlock sort of the next region, which will be a lot more of the meaty part of the law expansion. That will go up to Count. And then maybe even down the road even further, some loose plans for then like another title up from there, and then eventually maybe sort of closing off that law and leading to the next thing where you'll take some rewards and use some new power types and unlock another adventure by working your way through the law area. And comment in the chat, Count needs some more stuff. It does need a little bit more stuff. Hey Brian, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
All right, want to say hi? I'm sitting in a comfortable beanbag chair here, putting them to use. Oh, the lighting is great there with the window behind you.
Hi. Dave was up till 3 o'clock last night, making sure Rackspace brought our servers back online.
Giorgio and I were up.
Yeah, they had a big switch issue, so a whole bunch of the internet went down last night. Anyway.
Yeah, it was a little stressful, but we couldn't do anything either, so it was just kind of sitting there. But I kind of didn't want to go to sleep with it down, you know? I was kind of that feeling, like, well, I want to see it when it comes up.
Did you watch anything?
Hmm?
Did you do anything? What did you do while you were staring at
I watched hockey and then tried to stay awake with Netflix on in the background, I think.
Dave's a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. He's from the Toronto area, but he loves the Pittsburgh Penguins. And they're in the finals of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I grew up watching Mario Lemieux and Paul Coffey, so I'm a Pittsburgh fan.
Yeah, a guy called Paul Coffey. That name sticks in your head, you know. Who names their child after I guess something we drink every day. Anyway.
What's the family name? They probably had a little
Anyway.
No choice in that.
2 hours. I thought there was more than 2 hours of downtime. I think it was about 4 hours of downtime.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to recall now, but it felt longer than 2 hours.
Anyway, it's nice and warm here in Canada as well, finally, in Toronto. I don't know where you are in the world, but our weather here is amazing. It's cold from like October to May.
It's extremes. It's been kind of cold. We even had a little bit of snow, miserable, and then just oppressively hot. There's no comfortable weather in between. It can't just be 20 degrees ever. Either it's like 8 degrees and miserable, or it's 30 degrees and a million.
I've noticed both winter and summer just seems to accelerate from 3 degrees 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago to now. Anyway, yeah. I'm sure you guys want to talk about other things and not the weather. It's not as hot as Singapore, no.
No, I'm sure it's much hotter in Singapore right now.
Yeah. Even though it's probably like, what time is it in Singapore? But just
Probably about noon, I guess.
No.
Is it 12 or 13 hours?
Yeah. Anyway, I'll let Dave take over. He's much better looking than me as well.
Oh, I don't know about that. At times, maybe. Oh. That's some questions about season 4. Again, just to kind of, it was some quick plans here that we went over. So we don't have too many concrete details to preview, but I think as things come together, other Feedback Fridays will have maybe some teaser images and things like that to share as things get pulled together a bit. But a lot of the loose ends we're still tying up and trying to decide on the final plan of what we want to create. Which brings us to some feedback questions. So I have 3 questions for hunters in the chat. And if you're watching this recorded, I usually post a summary on the tavern section of the forums where you can let us know your feedback there as well. So the first feedback question is about the toxic spill, actually. So I mentioned a little earlier that we were considering repurposing it, kind of playing around with the mechanics a little bit, making it more of a permanent area that wouldn't open and close. It's kind of, you go there, there's maybe an adventure to complete, and you can kind of feel like, okay, cool, I did the thing there. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a good idea? I think it's not so great of an idea. Question in the chat, do you do giveaways? At the end, we'll have a little link from Larry with a trivia question, but if you talk about the King's giveaways, no plans in the immediate future. Last one we did was November. That's an interesting question. Bryce asks, how would the levels of the toxic spill work? Well, that's something we're going to play with. All we know is the direction we want to take it in is sort of repurpose, play around with the mechanics, basically reuse the mice, but kind of just rethink the whole thing, make it a permanent area. But we don't know how the levels would work, actually, so that's another good question, too, and definitely something we are open to suggestion. Take some notes here. Yeah, maybe everyday cycle was a suggestion there. Kind of just on a time or something like that. Yeah, here and there, some mixed feedback in the chat. It's an interesting comment there. I'm not a big fan, but I look forward to it when it appears. It's a very polarizing sort of opposite the tug of war going on there. Yeah, definitely some concerns about pollutant. We would definitely sort of look at how quickly you can collect that, and definitely need a lot of thought put into that. All right. Well, some interesting feedback there on the toxic spill, and definitely too. We watched sort of how hunters tackle the different areas in the game. We kind of watch how often they hunt there, what they're doing while they hunt there. And the toxic spill has sort of been a bit of an oddball, and it sort of indicates that, well, I don't know how much fun it is. And I think it does suffer from this sort of thing where it's there and you feel like you kind of have to do it because it's there, and that creates a bit of a weird feeling where I don't want to do this, but I feel like I don't want to miss out too. So it's kind of creates a little bit of anxiety there, because anytime you feel compelled to do something that you haven't chosen to do is typically not a good thing to have in a game, because it's hard to make something fun when people feel, this isn't maybe the right word, but coerced into doing something. That's not quite the right word, but yeah, all right, well, part 2 here. We'll try this again. I think my stream quality got turned up. Well, we'll try to keep this brief here in a race against the always struggling world of the internet. The next feedback question has to do with energy charms and how they work throughout the kingdom. Do you think you'll collect energy during events or otherwise, outside hunting in the Froma Rift? Is that something you like? You like the idea of? Something you think you can see yourself doing? Yes. Some yeses, some maybes. Something kind of maybe drew inspiration from the sunken city, and sort of instead of having to dock to collect more oxygen, there's options to go elsewhere and maybe work on some other things while you also make some progress in the Froma Rift. It was kind of fun even playtesting it a little bit. Once we got really established, had some of the batteries repaired after we'd been working on it a while, could go and take sort of maybe some of the charms we looted, go somewhere else, sort of use them up, maybe somewhere like the Burrows Rift or somewhere that's really good for points and gold as well. And basically we're earning pretty good points and gold while we work on an adventure in another area, and then take all the energy and just immediately enter the pagoda. And once you're in the pagoda in the Froma Rift, the points of gold are pretty good there as well, and that sort of synergized nicely where it could get some pretty good returns. Most people are currently doing the Labyrinth, was a comment in the chat. So we can check that. Let's check it out. We have about 19% of players are in the Labyrinth and 19% of players in the Froma Rift. There are a few more in the Labyrinth. There's 19.4% there. Well, it's Labyrinth and Zokor, and there are 18.8% of the people over the last week have been in the Froma Rift. I'm not quite sure what I get with comment in the chat about the loot drop should stack. You only get 4 instead of 6 using both the base and the charm. They both just give +2. The base works anytime you find energy, you get 2 bonus energy, and the charm will make it so every time you capture a mouse, you get 2 energy. And so when you combine together, both their effects will go off simultaneously. Question in the chat, will the trap effectiveness meter be updated? My beanbag chair is slowly sinking into the ground here. It has been sort of on our radar for a little bit. Unfortunately, it's been mildly broken. It was sort of not working even as intended when it was created, but hunters kind of liked the way it worked, so we didn't fix a bug. So it's always when something's working due to intentionally not fixing a bug, it's a little awkward, but it's on our radar, no plans in the immediate future. This is just the worst sitting apparatus ever. I'm pretty well just sitting on the floor now with a small layer of beanbag between me and the floor. All right, well, pretty interesting. Maybe too early to tell. From the Chrome Rift and the Energy Charms. Might take an event or two or something like that to kind of preview, get people to get a feel for how that works. Someone's asking, how many people have the Minotaur base? I don't know offhand. Someone's asking, can the Huntington be updated? It's a little lacking compared to other areas. We do sort of have a plan to work our way from the start of the game forward and kind of go through some of the areas that don't have HUDs, add HUDs, and spruce them up a little bit. We've only gotten as far as the windmill so far, so there's certainly lots on our plate. The final feedback question here has to do with treasure maps and the Relic Hunter. This is sort of an open call for suggestions and ideas, and definitely on the forums and the Facebook page we also get lots of feedback about treasure maps. But what new features and functionality would you like to see added to treasure maps and the Relic Hunter? This can be anything from content, rewards, things like that, to even just being able to use it, how you invite people. Question in the chat, how many people use mobile compared to PC? It's about 50-50, so I think it's actually a little bit higher than 50% people hunt from mobile than the desktop. Oh, and there's a lot of comments coming through here. I almost can't read them fast enough. Relic Hunter acting like a bonus hunt. That's interesting. View cancel pending map invites. I believe you can do that. I could be mistaken, but sort mice by area. That's a bit of a technical limitation. We don't really have an easy way to know which mice are in what area. There's too many comments here, and I am in no position to. I'm sitting on the floor now. It's come to this. I'm gonna have to scroll up, I think. Yeah, lots of sort of how to organize doing multiple maps. A lot of suggestions around there. Some interface things to help coordinate with your teammates. I'll get these ones. Maybe you're getting these ones. Help to figure out where to find them. Can we get maps that are rewarding, please, was a comment. I will welcome suggestions of what suggestions for rewards. But it's a little vague just to say that are rewarding. Great. Yeah, separate wanted posters from maps is a suggestion. Comment in the chat, bring back area loot. You can get area loot from maps, but you have to do the area-specific maps. That was sort of to accommodate getting area loot for areas that maybe had no interest in doing, so everyone would definitely have this large stockpile of molten glass, if I remember correctly, and coconut timber, things like that, that you maybe had no use for. So now you can choose which map you want to do. You focus on that area and you get rewards for that area. So if you do a Warpath map, you get Warpath stuff. If you do a Fungal Cavern map, you get Fungal Cavern stuff. And if you do one of the generic maps, they're more generic rewards that are better to use everywhere. And now you get King's Credits, which you can buy some stuff from the shop to help choose what you want. Yeah, someone in the chat has plenty of coconuts and molten glass, or coconut timber probably, and molten glass. That's stockpiled. And wealth charms. There's also no shortage of wealth charms in the world. Oh, sitting on the floor is starting to catch up with me here. Okay, a plethora of suggestions. You can definitely hit up the forums too and post your feedback there when I post the summary, as that'll kind of help read things a little quicker than the chat is going by. So finally, because I am done with sitting on the ground here, the trivia question, and Larry will have a reward. The trivia question is, what is the most energy a hunter can find in a single hunt? $47 was a random guess, and that's actually pretty close. 48, you're getting warmer. So close. 54 is correct. Brian has the right answer. In a single hunt, you can find 54. 50 as a loot drop from the Kung Fu Samurai, or I'm missing one. 3 of them can potentially drop 50 energy at once. You get 2 from a charm being armed and 2 from the base being armed. Another comment in the chat, can battery fragments be added in the mobile HUD? We have already done that, and the next update will add battery fragments and rift circuitry to the Froma Rift HUD for mobile. We'll have to wait till we submit another update. And I am slowly trying to not be sitting on the floor. And a reward link is inbound now. I still don't get what you're saying, Brian, about the loot stacking. The charm gives 2, the base gives 2, and that equals 4. I don't know where 2 extra ones would come out of. They do, I don't know if stack's the right word, but they both have an effect. They give 2 each, and when you have the charm and the base armed, you get 4. You get 2 from the charm, 2 from the base, and then whatever the mouse dropped from loot as well. So the mouse dropped 50, which is the most you can get in one drop. It's a pretty rare drop, but it'll happen every now and then on the rare chance while you're in the training grounds. Oh, and on that note, look at this. Look at this just display of beanbag carnage sitting behind me there. I am upright. I am very confused by where Brian's going with the charm, so I will leave it at that, but all I will say is the charm gives you 2, the base gives you 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. So you get 4 from those. And whenever the mouse drops as loot, you get that as well. So if the mouse drops 1, 2 plus 1 is 5, you'll get 5. But it doesn't have like a magical effect where like the 2 things synergize and pull an extra 2 energy out of thin air. But all right, well, hunters, thank you for joining me here as I get caught up reading the chat here. Thank you for the sentiment in the chat of go get comfortable. I'm just definitely going to go sit in a more comfortable chair location. Thanks for joining me. Happy hunting over the weekend. Lots of great feedback. I'll post a summary of the feedback Friday on the tavern section of the forums, where if you have more suggestions for treasure maps, maybe things you'd like to see happen with Treasure Map Season 4, you can post your suggestions and ideas in that thread as well. So thanks for joining me. Happy hunting. I might see you next week, or maybe Jacob. We'll see.